before it gets weird, I'm gonna leave it at that. The NBA award nominations were released recently. I'm curious to see, what your thought is on the nominees that were released. There were a few names that kind of stood out that weren't on those lists for me. I'll wait to say those. Ben, we'll start with you this time. Out of the nominees, I'm not going to go through and read them all just because there's too many. Were there any players that you would have liked to see nominated for one that just wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the obvious answer is Luka Doncic said it himself. He was nominated for Player of the Year or Most Improved Player of the Year. Sorry. Yep. Devonte Graham jumped from like 4 points per game to like 16 this season. So he was kind of the obvious choice. Luka said it himself. He thinks that Graham should have been there. And then on the other hand, Defensive Player of the Year, I think Ben Simmons had a real case. I don't necessarily think that whoever's there is like a bad nomination, is a bad finalist. But I think Ben Simmons had a real case, and he could have easily replaced one of two of those guys that was on that list.
Okay. Stacey, what about you?
I'll say the one person that has an argument, like Ben said, is Devonte Graham. When you go from 4 to close to 18, something like that, 16 to 18, that's a pretty big jump. However, I do see the reason why Luka was nominated for Most Improved Player. First of all, a lot of people was actually saying that he should be on there. Just because he's almost averaging a triple-double. He's almost averaging a triple-double. He jumped from, 21 points to near 30, and he got like 9 rebounds, 9 assists, something like that. So and then he's also shooting better overall. So I can see why he's there, but I think Devonte Graham is the one person that has the argument. Everywhere else is very, very solid.
Okay. Mike, anything different, or do you agree?
Yeah, I just mostly agree. I didn't have a lot of problems with who they chose for the finalists. I think it's really, up to your discretion. I think when you look at Rookie of the Year, you could have had Tyler Herro in there instead of Kendrick Nunn. But I mean, it's that minuscule to me. I think they pretty much the NBA pretty much got it right. So I'm going to agree with you guys. Devonte Graham should have definitely been on there for sure. Like I said, honorable mention, Tyler Herro, Brandon Clark for Rookie of the Year. I don't think they would have won it, but I think their names could have been in the finalist pool. But yeah, I have no issues with the finalists. I'm with it.
Okay. Aside from Devonte Graham, obviously that was just, I think that's on everyone's radar. It's just kind of robbed. For me, I had Marcus Smart being robbed of a Defensive Player of the Year nomination. This is biases aside, okay? Like, I genuinely believe that. I would have put him over Rudy Gobert. I genuinely would have. And that's like me, not as a Celtics fan. That's me as an NBA fan. This may be as a Celtics fan. You guys can let me know and tell me I'm stupid, whatever. I feel like Jaylen Brown, maybe Jason Tatum could have gotten a nod for Most Improved as well. I feel like they both really had huge jumps. Specifically, Tatum kind of became a superstar this year, I feel like. It's tough because a lot of players kind of made a huge jump this year. So, I don't know. Am I crazy? Is that a biased Celtics fan take? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, Luka's still up there, and he went from star to superstar. So I guess you could say Jason Tatum went from very good to star this year, superstar. I mean, it's give or take, man. I don't think you're crazy for it. It's definitely that little green in your blood, but there ain't nothing wrong with that, man. It's all right.
It's there. I mean, I can't argue it. I can't. There's probably yellow and gold and purple and just all different types of colors in yours.
You know what it is.
All right, moving on from the regular award nominations and kind of who got left out. The NBA is also implementing the Bubble Awards, which I think is really awesome to celebrate the players that kind of cooked it these past 8 games. So there's going to be 3 awards, one of which was just announced that they're going to do tonight, which is we're recording on Wednesday night. They're going to do MVP, I think it was like an all-bubble team, and then coach of the bubble. I think they call it seeding games. I don't think they're calling it Bubble Awards. I think they're calling it like seeding game awards. But I feel like MVP, in my eyes, there's 2 candidates for that. I'm curious what you guys have. We'll start with that. Mike, take us away.
All right. So MVP of the bubble, I'm going to go Dame Lillard. I know it could be Devin Booker. I know it's very close. But I'm kind of, bear with me, I'm projecting. I got the Blazers making the playoffs. I feel like they will ultimately, even though Memphis has a good shot of playing them in the play-in round. I think the Suns have a good shot too, even though they have the Mavericks. But I think the Blazers will overcome that. Dame just going for 50 and 60 in back-to-back games that matter, because if you lose one of these games, you could be out the playoffs. And like he said, after the game the other night, he only wanted to come to the bubble if he had a chance to play for the playoffs, which he does. He's came out here and he's been the go-to guy with his running mate hampered. So I'm gonna go with Dame for MVP of the seeding games.
Yeah, and one thing on Dame, just because you have him up, I feel like you got to respect the fact I've seen so many interviews about him the past few days about saying how he got these offers to join super teams, and he just kept saying no because he wants to stay in Portland and build something in Portland. And I feel like that's a really hard trait to find nowadays in the NBA. Everyone wants to go join a super team, be with the best players. So I have a lot of respect for Dame in that sense. But Stacey, who is your bubble MVP?
Bubble MVP? Dame. It's Dame. It's almost not a question. But shout out to Devin Booker, though. Y'all know I'm very high on Devin Booker. But I think it's Dame. And the separation comes from, look where the Blazers at. The 8th spot. They more than likely going to get in. Book, as much as he's been playing great and all that, Suns don't have that 8th spot. They don't control their destiny right now. Dame does. And 61 points, I'll take that. So I'm going with Dame.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm also saying Damian Lillard. I mean, he's got the better of Booker in points per game, assists per game. His team's in a better position. I mean, Booker definitely has a case. He's led his team to 7-0 against some very good teams too, I might add. But I don't know. Just to me, Damian Lillard, that one shot, that was kind of the game winner over the Mavs the other night. That hit the back of the rim, went like, I would say at least 6 feet up. That was like Kawhi-esque. That was one of the most ridiculous bounces I've ever seen, and I will say that it's not really luck at that point. So, no, Damian Lillard, I mean, shouldn't be too much of a question in my opinion. Should be the seeding games MVP.
All right, I'm disagreeing with all of you guys and taking Booker. He took the 7-0. Like, look at the rest of this team, guys. Like, come on, you gotta give him respect. He's looking at Kobe out there. He even gave a nod to Kobe, saying like how he like misses him every day, and like that's kind of his motivation. This man's been on another level. He's not playing like himself. He's playing like a way better version of himself. Where Dame was always Dame. Obviously, Dame's playing at a little bit of a different level, more better quality, I guess you could say. But Devin Booker's been a different beast out there, and I feel like you gotta give him the nod. And also, since most awards have like 3 finalists, I'm gonna tip the hat to T.J. Warren for that 3rd place. I think he's earned that. Obviously, just don't look at the game against the Heat because that was embarrassing. But yeah, for the all bubble team, what's gonna be your starting 5 there? Ben, we'll start with you.
All right, so obviously we'll go guards first. I got Dame and Devin Booker. Not surprising. Don't really need to talk too much about that. And then on my forwards, again, T.J. Warren. Of course, he popped off. And what's his name? Michael Porter Jr. is someone else that we've talked a little bit about. He's been on an absolute tear during the seeding games. And he's looking like one of those guys, like Mike said it earlier, 6'10", and he can, shoot like 50% from 3 on a night-to-night basis. I mean, and it's not even like he's not taking too many attempts. It's not even like he's shooting 2 threes per game. He's going like 4 for 8 some of these games, 6 for 9 some of these games. So he's really impressed me. I mean, and he's looking like one of those guys that can average like 25 and 15 even throughout the postseason if he keeps getting playing time, which I would be shocked if he didn't. And then at my center, I got Joel Embiid. He's been averaging just about 30 and 15 in the games that he's played in the bubble. Obviously, they've been resting him. He had to leave the game early tonight just because of a minor hand injury. But, 30 and 15 is hard to ignore. He had a 41 and 21 game. He shot better than 50% in every game that he's actually played in. So yeah, I got, just to recap, Dame, Booker, TJ Warren, MPJ, and Joel Embiid is my all bubble team.
Okay. Stacey?
There's nothing to be said. Those my same five right there. The same five. They've been the five most outstanding players during this bubble. So I don't have anybody different. Literally the same starting five.
That makes my job easy. Mike?
I'm a different one person. I got the same. Everybody's the same. I'm switching out MPJ. All love to MPJ for Giannis. I mean, Giannis still did exactly what we expect Giannis to do. He averaged, let me see, I just had it right here. 27 points a game, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 30-point double-doubles. I mean, he's still a walking, like, 20 and 10 every freaking night, 25 and 10. So that's my only difference. I totally understand if you put MPJ ahead of him. MPJ will probably, if I had a second team, he'd definitely be right there. So that's my only difference.
My only difference, I'm also going to take MPJ out as good as he's been, and I'm going to put in Porzingis. He's averaging 30 and a half, 30.5 points a game, just under 10 rebounds. A steal, just under 2 blocks, and just over 2 assists a game. Dude's been a beast pair with Luka. If him and Luka can keep clicking the way they have in this bubble, there's a possibility they could escape the first round.
Yes, sir.
Very, very soon.
Talk about it.
I don't think
so. Have you seen Luka get hot? What was it? The game, I think it was Sunday, when he was putting the ball between his legs during passes.
Yeah,
when Luka gets hot, he's nice.
Yeah, but still.
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George guarding him.
Yeah.
8 minutes a night.
Hey, Paul George not guarding Kristaps. I know that.
Oh,
that's gonna be tough actually, because the Lakers don't really have, the Clippers, don't really have that size to guard Kristaps or versatility to guard.
Zubac been doing pretty good though.
Throwing Boban too.
I don't think Zubac could guard him on the perimeter though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Go better than that, Stacey.
I was trying to find something.
You see Porzingis handle. He got a little handle now. I don't think Zoo ready for that. I don't think Big Zoo ready.
Plus, Porzingis' mid-range shot is so funny. He kind of just like turns and
he just turns around and throws it.
All you gotta do is 7-2.
It's so funny every time. It's like, how did that go in?
You don't really need arc when your like standing reach is like 14 feet.
Yeah.
Right. He just turns around, shoots a high post mid fadeaway jumper. Good, whatever.
Shooting 38% from deep as a big man too is impressive. So I mean, hats off to him. I definitely think he deserves a nod. And then moving on from that, we have the coach of the bubble / seeding games, however you want to word it. Mike, we'll start with you. Who's your coach of the seeding games?
I mean, I guess since I didn't give MVP to Devin Booker, I'll give something to the Suns. I'll go Monty Williams, like undefeated. Like I said, that's a hell of a coaching job. I mean, obviously, it's easier when you have Devin Booker. But like I brought up, I mean, they had Devin Booker before the bubble. And did they go on any type of win streak like this during the regular season earlier? Not to my knowledge that I can remember. So I think this is a hell of a job for him to get a young team ready to come into the bubble to be able to perform. I thought they had no shot at the playoffs. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The fact that they're even right here with a puncher's chance, I think that's just an amazing job. So it would have been easy for me to go as one of these playoff teams, but these guys fighting at the bottom, going against these hard teams and pulling out wins, I'm going to show some acknowledgement to that. So I'm going to go with Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns.
Stacey, what about you?
The same. I'm going Monty Williams. 7-0. Enough said.
Yeah.
Tough against tough competition. Everybody's fighting for a position here, and he has team 7-0. And I believe that whether they get in or not, I believe that this 7-0 is a preview to what's to come for the Suns' future, because for years that's all they needed. All they needed was just a solid head coach. You know, they switched head coaches before him like 5 times in 5 or 6 years. They had no continuity whatsoever. And now they had a head coach, and that head coach got young players here. Don't forget they young. Devin Booker's only 23. Kelly Oubre, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, et cetera, et cetera. You got them playing pretty good, 7-0. So I'm going Monty.
All right, Ben.
I mean, yeah, Monty Williams is obviously the clear choice here. 7-0, like Stacey said, he's got Mikal Bridges going off, DeAndre Ayton playing at the level he was playing at when the Suns were winning earlier in the season. But just to be different and also a little bit biased, I'm gonna go.
Nurse.
I'm gonna go with my coach of the year, Nick Nurse.
Nurse.
I mean, 6-1, almost as good as 7-0. And then at the same time, it's like you've had performances from guys like Boucher, Matt Thomas when you were resting Van Vliet and Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka, where they went for like 25 and 10. And then you're beating the Bucks, albeit without Giannis. And then tonight he took a rest day. The coach took a rest day and said, "Let's let the assistant coach be the head coach for tonight." And I think that's
pretty cool.
I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, it kind of deserves recognition in its own way for him being a good head coach. So I'm gonna go with Nick Nurse. Obviously, though, Monty Williams is the clear number one choice there.
So I just want to say that's really cool. I did not know that he just like took a rest day and was like, "Here, you can be the head coach for the day." That's awesome.
Yeah.
But for my pick, I'm gonna make Matt Huff fall out of his chair and take Mike Malone, head coach of the Denver Nuggets. I feel like Denver, where they didn't necessarily go 7-0 like the Suns did, I feel like Mike Malone did a good job of kind of experimenting with his lineups, testing some of his players. They had that third seed. They could have gotten the second seed. They have that third seed, so they weren't too worried about that, I feel like. Instead, he took advantage of those 8 games to kind of see, where his players were at, move around the lineup, got Bol some minutes, and turns out, he could be a real asset. So I think the Nuggets are going to appreciate that kind of like lineup testing into the playoffs when they realize, okay, like this guy did well in these moments during those seeding games. Let's put him in this and see how he plays. So Mike Malone is going to be my pick. Brad Stevens kind of did the same thing, but I think Mike Malone did just a little bit better of a job with it